Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Council Checkup. And I'm your host, Don Walmsley, and I'd like to invite you to meet our guest, Blake McCutcheon, our mayor. Welcome, Blake.
Good to be here again.
Good. And another familiar face that many of you, if not all of you, have seen at one point or another. Because he's become a bit of a sort of a piece of the furniture, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I never thought of that.
Is Sergeant Mark Morehouse, who is the operations NCO for our local RCMP detachment. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Don.
How are you?
Good.
Listen, now I'm going to start with you because you have some exciting news. I know you've been waiting for this for a few years, but we have a new staff sergeant. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, no, Kobe Argue.
What's that name again?
Kobe Argue.
Kobe Argue.
Yeah,
okay.
he came down from Thompson. He was seconded to Verdun. He was down there for about a year. And he was a staff sergeant up in Thompson. Served in the north for about 11 years.
Okay.
Came down and originally from Cartwright. So
Cartwright, Manitoba.
Yes.
Wow, a Manitoba boy.
yeah.
Oh,
So
excellent.
he's here and taking over the reins, and I'm passing some things over to him. So it's all good. We work very well together, and it's nice to have him aboard.
So you have a detachment of how many officers?
We have 15, that's counting Minnedosa as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and 5 clerks.
5 clerks, 15 officers, okay.
Yeah.
So if you're able to, what were sort of his first impressions? He can't be here, right? At this
Right,
point.
he's at a meeting today in Brandon, but when he walked in, he thought it was great. He was not surprised, but he liked how the members all got along together, work together. You didn't have to ask the members to, take this file, that file. They grab the radio and go to the calls right away, and he thought that we had a pretty good oiled running machine.
Good. That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
So he's coming in. How will that change your duties?
I'll go back to my old job, which is the operations NCO for Spruce Plains Detachment. So that's looking after all the operations in our area.
So operations meaning what?
Meaning,
It's a very broad term.
Yeah, operations will be anything that comes in will go probably through me first, and then to Kobe after. So if it's from, say, like we'll know if there's murders or anything like that, high-risk files, anything like that.
Okay. So you're like that, and this is a normal way of doing
Yeah.
things. You're that sort of screening step to say, okay, if you covered this, if you got that, and then passing it on up.
Yeah, and he'll be looking at the high-risk files as well through
Yeah.
the line, and we'll give advice out to the corporals or to the constables as well through that. So I'm basically the second in command.
Okay. Well, and that will be an easy role for you if he happens to be away on vacation or something like
Yeah,
that. It won't be anything new that you haven't sort of encountered before.
No, it won't. No.
So
It'd be more likely Mark taking vacations now.
Well, that could be.
I've been acting now. It was 6 years, September 1st.
Has it been 6 years?
Yeah, it was 6
Really?
years, acting staff sergeant. So it's kind of nice to give the reins back that way, and I'm into my 35th year. So
Wow.
life is good.
You know what? If you can say that, that's wonderful.
Yep.
So anything sort of new or something that anything we should be aware of currently that's on the docket that sort of we should be keeping an eye on as a community, or what you're finding or trends?
There's a few break and enters happening now, but this is the time of year that we find that between September, October, November, we have more usually then, and also in the spring we usually have it for like April, May, and up to June. So,
all right.
So this is the time of year where keep your doors locked, take serial numbers down for any valuable items that you have, and a lot of people are looking for ATVs, motorbikes, lawnmowers, power tools. So if you haven't taken serial numbers down, please do, because that way we can enter them onto our CPIC, which is a machine that goes all over Canada, and if something does come up in Alberta, and it comes up as stolen, then we know.
My stuff's so old, I don't even know if they even use those same kind of model numbers.
And even if it's not the model number or the serial number, you can always make your own. So say you had DW and 123. so that we know that would go on to the CPIC. So
Oh,
if
I
that
see.
ever showed up, then we know DW123 belongs to Don Walmsley.
So what about people taking photographs?
Photographs is great. I encourage, and a lot of people now have been taking like a video of, going around taking a video of their whole items.
Their whole items.
Yeah, and then they have that. So
Actually, it's probably a good idea for insurance purposes as
Yeah.
well. You know, you take a look at certain things.
yeah, and that way it's but don't put it where it can be stolen.
I know. Yeah. That's so true, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's right up there. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Anything else? Like, are we? What about? We often get a lot of these telephone scams. I had a person just go after me,
Yeah.
and bottom line is, they wanted my SIN number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course I did.
And that's
yeah.
that's a big thing right now is they're asking for SIN numbers again and
Yeah.
saying that you was stolen or whatever. I even get them on my work phone, and as soon as I talk to them and I'm going, well, you're the one that's asked me for the number. You should have it if you know my number is gone. And click right away, they hang up.
Yeah.
But these people who's doing it, a lot of them's out of country,
Yes.
and you can't trace. It's hard to trace.
Well, and some of these numbers are coming up with 476. on
Yeah,
them.
I
they
know.
can do that. They can use the number local exchange
They
number.
can ghost it now, eh?
Yeah, they ghost it, use the local exchange number. So that's why people's answering. Some people have been taken and have sent money already, and sometimes they'll want you to go buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin isn't traceable. So if they're asking you to go to get some money exchanged or get money and bring it, and no, that's a scam.
Well, and we've been very much promoting the fact that, and even all the agencies, the federal legitimate agencies, that we will never ask you for that information
Yeah.
over the phone. When someone, I just want to confirm your SIN number, did you give it to you? Say, no, you read it to me and I'll tell you whether that's
Yeah.
right or not.
And
But we can't do that. Well, I can't do it to you.
Yeah, and the big thing is Revenue Canada. I mean, that's another
Oh,
big
yeah,
one, and the people have sent money to them.
They have
and that, yeah. So it's Revenue Canada won't call you up;
No.
they will show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not going to tell you they're coming.
No.
No, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
If you're on their radar,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah.
And actually, we've had Revenue Canada come and do at least a couple of information sessions for newcomers
Yeah.
and that. So it's out there, and they're very clear about it.
and a lot of time they won't ask us to go with them. They just show up, and unless it's something that they know that may be of danger to them or anything like that.
Okay.
But because Revenue Canada on those phone calls will say, yeah, the RCMP is going to come to arrest you within. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll show up and deal with it that way.
I was sitting with Minister Clark a couple months ago, and she had a phone call, and she stepped away, and she came back, and she said, apparently the RCMP are coming to get me. So
Yeah, yeah.
They
so
just-
it's amazing, eh?
yeah.
I know.
Well, it's just random.
I know.
So, in your overall detachment, what would you say, if you can, are probably the top 2 or 3 types of calls you typically would get?
Well, of course, right now is COVID calls. We're getting a lot of COVID calls to go check on people, and from what I heard today, the Premier's coming out and Dr. Rusin with stiffer fines is supposed to be coming out today
Okay.
because people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we usually get a call from Health Canada, and then we go and check out the people. But I guess from what I've heard, I haven't got the official yet, but fines will be laid. Usually we don't lay the fines. We check you out and make sure that everything is copacetic with what it's supposed to be, and then we go from there. But
Wow.
now they want the fines laid.
Well, there's no hiding the fact that numbers are on the rise, and Winnipeg's just really trying to
Yeah.
get a sense of how do they control it. I look at Prairie Mountain Health, and we went through that, and we seem to have been able to
We
have
were
a sense
we were
of
clusters, eh? We had a couple of really.
Well, and that's, I think, what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
difference was. And Winnipeg's
Yeah.
so spread
Yeah,
out.
I know.
yeah,
You know, your tracing has got to be
yeah. I know
crazy.
we've been very fortunate here in our area.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as long as it keeps that way, knock
Yeah.
on wood. The other thing we noticed recently is impaired drivers is picking up quite a bit.
Really?
So probably in the last 2 weeks we've had probably 5 or 6 impaired drivers, and that's kind of under the norm, but it's happening. So we are out there, and we will be stopping, and if you're impaired, you will be charged. So
And that's a huge issue, isn't it? It takes a long time once that process starts, right?
Yes,
For the,
yeah.
for the person.
yes, yeah, and some people plead guilty right away, and others don't. So it goes on to another month, and then nothing will start for their suspensions until the final say.
Okay.
And then the judge can say, okay, it's now a year without your license. You might already not be able to drive for 6 months, so 16 months, plus the fines, and it's very costly. And even if we have to draw blood if it's an accident that you get in, you have your vehicle and everything else, but as soon as we get our blood results back, we then go and take your car. We then go and you're charged. So
Wow.
So, yeah.
Are you? What would be the split if you're able to just give an estimate between impairment through alcohol and impairment through cannabis?
I would say it's still alcohol is
Alcohol
like 90 plus percent.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
The cannabis hasn't been too bad in our area anyway.
Speaking of which, we're going to have a new
We
cannabis
are.
shop.
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is it's a fairly rigorous protocol to get
Yes.
the licensing.
It
and
is,
doing
yeah.
that. What sort of things need to occur from the police end with regards to that?
Not much on our end. It's all done provincially that
Okay.
way. So we just enforce anything after that. So it's like, as long as people, if they buy it, make sure it's in the package that you buy it from at the store, and that's being marked. If you take it out of that package and put it in something else, you can be charged. You have to keep it in the same package
Oh, now that's
with the
interesting.
label and the name on it. And
So if you do that and you've got it, you're not going to be charged.
well, as long as it's nothing is, we can't smell anything in your car, like
Yeah.
like reminiscence of
Yeah.
you smoking it or anything like that. Yeah, it's got to be in a certain spot. Like it's got to be where you can't reach it, just same as liquor.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't know that you couldn't put it in your favorite little
No.
tin or that.
No,
kind
you
of
can't
thing.
do
You've
that.
got to keep it within that
That's right.
package. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know how many people realize that.
yeah, it's got to be in the same packaging.
Okay. From your information from other jurisdictions that have had cannabis shops open up, have there been any sort of noticeable engagement with the police, or really it's like it's
Yeah, it's
another store?
been it's been pretty mellow. Get that one.
Oh dear, oh dear.
We needed Eve here.
Yeah, there we go, there we go.
No, it's been really good. It's, we thought for sure when it first came out that it was going to be maybe a bothersome, but it has not been. So it
It intrigues me that COVID seems to be a real heavy-duty drain on resources right now,
Yeah.
and then you're talking about impaired drivers, an increase beyond what typically happens. Third one for me. What have you got? Have you got a third one you can think of?
like I say, the break-in enters,
Okay.
COVID and impaired right now is
Are
probably
your
our-
hot ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, might not be a good thing to say, but with the COVID and winter coming up and people shut in more, we may experience some more domestics
Hear ya.
in the house. So
We've certainly seen that with
Yeah.
COVID. Generally speaking, you can look right across the
Yeah.
urban, rural sectors that, especially in those early days when
Yes.
kids were back at home,
Yeah.
having to be homeschooled, the parent had to be there, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
That was really on the rise. It was evident right across the board. So,
yeah.
new digs. We talk about this all the time. Anything in that?
No, I haven't heard anything.
You haven't heard anything?
No, like I said, it's all about money and funding and COVID and yeah, it's out there someday, Don. But yeah, no, nothing at the present.
Now, other things in town. Recently, we had Fire Week.
Yes.
You guys collaborate with Fire Week at all, or do anything with that?
Well, we collaborate with the jokers there at the hall. So there's
Okay.
there's one main joker there. What's Eve Gillis, I think it is. So yeah, but we get along very well.
I think I still hear the odd person comment on when the last time the two of you were on here. It was quite.
Hey, we don't bring them together anymore.
Yeah, but no, we get along really good
Yeah.
with them, and we share the facility with the gym that we have.
Yeah,
We've moved all our equipment that we had at our office up to the fire hall.
that's. You know what? That was a smart move, I think,
Yeah.
because you're working together so commonly anyway.
And what I've found out in talking to Eve too, and in talking to the firemen themselves is they're getting to know our members where they didn't know them before.
Yeah.
Just like showing up to a scene and
Yeah.
and that, and now they're getting to know them by their name, and there's more camaraderie, is what we're finding.
Good.
So it's it's a good thing for sure.
Well, I mean, if anywhere that should happen, it should be in a small community where you
Yeah.
know each other, and that whole piece about collaboration is in all areas and at all levels is so important. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm now going to move to you. I mean, I'll give Mark a little bit of a cool down.
Okay.
Someone was bound to come up. We'll zero in on him.
Okay.
Talk to me about what's been happening. What in our last couple of council meetings, this is the last time. What's the hot stuff?
Well, I guess just to quickly, Monday was a really big day here in the town of Neepawa, right? And unfortunately, it was all by, you had to be invited to it because of COVID, right? But we had two big functions occur here. We had Minister Squires come out, who's head of municipal ways, and of course Eileen Clark. Minister Clark should have been here too, but she had an accident last week where she slipped on some stairs and she broke her ankle.
Oh dear.
So yeah, so she wasn't allowed to be here. Well, not allowed, she wasn't able to be here. So yeah, so we started out at the bike park Monday at 1.
Now, it's called the Big 40, or
It's
back 40.
That was kind of on the back burner until the announcement, right? So
Okay.
High Life wanted to be so yeah, we did that on Monday. We had the dignitaries there, and obviously we were very thrilled that High Life gave us $100,000 for the naming rights, and the sign came down, and that's exactly what it is. It's High Life, but under its back 40, and I'm pretty sure that's what people are going to start calling it, right?
The back 40.
Yeah, and it makes perfect
Now,
sense, right?
Now, the last time we talked, I'd mentioned that I took a look at it, and I felt maybe some signage, more signage.
Yeah,
has come up.
and there's more coming all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah, no, it's it's funny. Deputy Mayor Headley was just talking about it because he lives in that end of town, and he was saying on the weekends it's just unbelievable how much traffic's on that road.
You know what? Isn't that wonderful? Kids
Yeah.
on and adults
Yeah.
on bikes.
Yeah.
Well, we went down as a family. My boys and their family came out for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So we all went out and we walked and they brought their bikes and they thought it was fantastic, and just word of mouth, they heard it from us, of course, and they talked to somebody in Brandon, and Brandon said, "Oh yeah, we've heard about this. We got to go out and see it." And I know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some people coming from Saskatchewan,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
Alberta has been coming here to the back 40.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic park, and I know they planted some trees.
Yes.
They're talking about some picnic tables up
Yep,
there.
that'll be next year, country. But you're right,
See,
it's all coming. Yeah.
It's,
That's a wonderful multi-use.
Oh, it's
multi-year use because
Yeah.
ski trails.
We were talking about you can,
shoe
well,
around.
you've got the great trail around it, right? So
Okay.
you'll be able
Yeah.
to cross country. You see, snowboard,
Yeah.
we're actually going to wait to see where the most snow falls, and then we will try
That's
to
fair
create
enough.
a toboggan run there. And I didn't understand that, but you can actually walk on the bike paths. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like you just have to get out of the way of the bikes, obviously. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, my little granddaughter, she took off and went onto the bike path, and she was doing the hills.
Yeah.
She'll be 3 coming up, so
And you know,
it was good.
oh, it's great. And one of the things I said there was what we didn't know 2 years ago when we started building was who would know that it's perfect for social distancing.
Yeah, it is.
And we never even
Yeah,
thought,
of course.
that wasn't even on the radar 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that word meant, but
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I never thought of that, but
I
of
know,
course,
yeah.
it's one of those right things at the right time.
yeah,
Took an opportunity, door
Yeah.
open, away you went,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think the community's benefited clearly from
Oh.
the use.
Yeah.
And I don't see that stopping. I think the nice thing is, I mean, the ski trail out there is wonderful. I mean, you want to go for a night,
yeah.
perfect. But this is closer in town. You can walk your kids, or it's just a short hop. They can do their thing and come back, and a different kind of thing.
And I was just saying, it's such a good news event in this
Yeah.
time of COVID, right? There's lots of unhappy stories going on. This is such a great story. So then, yeah, we did that, and High Life's Lyle Lowen spoke on behalf of High Life, and I mean, he's so pleased. He said, he made an interesting comment. He said, we view High Life as a world-class organization, and now he says we have a world-class multi-use trail park here, right? And that was such a good statement for him to say, right? That
And I can see this being used for events coming
Yes,
up,
absolutely.
bike events.
Yes.
I can see that being
Yeah,
used for
I
that.
believe it's built to that standard so they could have competitions.
Yes. Yeah.
Which would be pretty neat. You
Yeah.
know?
No, that was great. And like I said, unfortunately, it was by invitation only. But we finished that up, and then we had a little break, and then because Minister Squires was here, and it had kind of been announced a little bit that they were going to move forward on the restart program to give us $2.25 million, which is basically half of what we're going to need for our new water reservoir that we're going to start building here in the spring of 2021.
Now, you made reference to that. We talked a bit about that in our last
Correct. Yes.
get together.
Yeah.
So that reservoir does what now? It increases the capacity by how much?
Yes, well, okay, so I've learned a little bit more since then too. So right now, the town has the ability to store, I mean, it's always being used, but if you never used it for a day, we could have 2.75 million liters. And this is going to give us the ability to more than double. But, and it sounds like a lot, and it says, whoa, what are you guys doing with all that water? But actually, we are running on the bubble all the time now, because High Life takes half every day. So
Well, they're a big plant.
they're a
They
big
require
plant,
a lot of
absolutely,
water.
right? So right now, I mean, good for Howard Buffy and his crew. They do a great job. But I mean, as Howard says, we're only one problem away from, starting to be concerned, right? So, this is great. I mean, that's exactly what I said at the conference. This is such a great news story again, right? That the government has seen this as such an important part of our development in the town, right? We've got the $12 million lagoon that's getting ready to be finished up, and now we're going to have the water reservoir that's going to allow us to double our capacity.
Which will give you a buffer if something does happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting. That buffer is still no more than 2 to 3 days. Like, you just think, wow, that's so much water, right? But it's just, we're such a growing town. And like I said,
Yeah.
like they talked about Home Hardware at that day, saying not that was a pleasant experience, but that ate up 1 million liters of water when that fire occurred. And so now we'll have the buffer for that, right? We'll have the buffer for any
1 million liters of water?
Yep.
That was a big fire.
That was a
I
big fire,
remember
yeah.
coming
No,
in, walking down and
Yeah.
just standing and holy cow, that was a powerful fire.
So, and this now allows us the opportunity. I mean, I think we all believe at some point High Life is going to continue to get bigger and better, and we're always been hopeful that we're going to get a second industry. And of course, don't forget, we now supply water to Rosedale and Langford, and so you know what, they're going to continue to want more water. So yeah, I mean, this is just such a great.
Are you building a big enough reservoir?
Well, like I said, this is a reservoir that has the capacity for 4 million liters. But it's built so that it's actually two holding areas. So it will be 2 million and then another 2 million. And for the present time, we'll just use the 2 million. And I did ask that question. I said, well, why not just fill it up? And they said, well, water will go stale, which I guess I didn't really understand that. So they say for the moment, as long as we only need the 2 million reservoir, but eventually at the time comes that we're using more water, it'll be no different than our lagoon, right? Where if we throw in more honeycombs, we can have more lagoon space, right? So this is the same thing here. Yeah, so no, we're building a pretty good capacity.
Okay.
And it'll also allow us, because the water tower is aging, and we have talked about that, right? It's going to need some upkeep. So now when we get this completed, actually the government's given us a deadline. We have to have this completed by March of 2022.
Really?
So we're shovel ready. I said that again, good to the past council and our current administration office. They've always really been good at ready for shovel ready projects. So we'll have this getting out for tender in the spring. We should be underway by May. Should be good to go. In the world we live in, you never know, but we should be fine. And then once it comes on stream, we'll be able to take the water tower offline for a while, do some maintenance work on it, and then bring it back online.
So what does the water tower really do now?
It's part of our reservoir right now. Like it holds, I have no idea what it holds. I'm going to guess and say it holds 1 million liters, but it holds a lot of water.
So in addition to the reservoir,
Yes.
there's water there.
Yeah, yeah.
That will go offline for a bit while you're fixing it?
But then we'll just kind of be where we are right now, but then when it comes back online, we will have doubled our capacity, right? So, so we're really setting ourselves up really good here in the infrastructure part, right? If you don't talk about streets that we're still trying to get to.
And we will talk about
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I should have Denis here. And then, of course, new housing, right?
Yeah.
And that's, we know that's a big part of the puzzle here. And we're as close as we've been. I know I've said that for a year now, but I mean, the CN property will be completed. to a stage before, well, it snowed today, yesterday, but we are at a stage now in the spring, we can move forward and get underway because the water and sewer is in, the streets are basically in, they're not paved or anything, but I mean,
But they're laid out.
yeah,
and
they're ready to go. You could start building, yeah. I mean, we have a couple of hiccups going on here, hydro and gas, unfortunately, they're, for whatever reason, they're tough to get to these big areas. They had promised that they would be here and done by the end of October, and now they're saying they will be done by the end of December, putting the lines in for our development. And of course, the price of lumber, right? Price of lumber is really accelerated.
That has been just such a,
Yeah.
one of those COVID-related
So
impacts.
again, our developer has said, you know what, he's just going to, now that he doesn't have hydro and gas anyhow, we're probably just going to sit out the winter before we get underway. So yeah, that was a really great day, and that's what I said. It's one of those. I used that in my first line at my speech at the bike park, where I said, this is a great day to be a mayor of Neepawa, and I haven't said that very often lately. So yeah, so but it was a great day. Yeah.
Good. So let's talk about those streets.
The streets.
Yeah, my scooter kind of bumps in the.
Well, I noticed that. I could see you
Yeah.
bumping along like
Yeah.
that and thought, that's not good.
Okay, and I guess, how could I? Okay, so, on
We have our asphalt recycler.
Yeah,
It's being repaired.
and
last
yeah,
time.
it's fixed. I actually
Okay.
I went to Denis today and I said, Don Walmsley is going to ask me about. Yeah, no, it's fixed. And it might not even be too late this year to use it. The problem we had was the CN property. So you have this whole set of rules that comes along when you have, and there should be safety rules when you have people in trenches. So when you have it was basically an in-house job that we're doing at there.
Yeah.
So I would say to Denis, well, pull one guy out of there and let's go fix this pothole. And Denis says, I can't do that, Blake, because of the safety rules. We have to keep our teams together, right? So, and he really wanted to get this project done before snowfall, and he's there. And unfortunately now, we are going to still. There are some potholes, some little rough spots, as Mark mentions, in this town, and we are going to address those before the end of the year. Probably it'll just be cold patch now. We might try the new hot recycler, but we'll see. But this will be the last year that we won't be talking about street renewal in a more positive way. We are going to,
Okay.
we are coming on stream. And I mean,
So I'm writing this down.
yeah,
I'm holding it to you.
Okay, good. Because it's true, right? I mean, I think the whole council has, and so does the administration office, right? But I mean, COVID, lagoons, reservoirs, finished up the fire hall, the CN property, the bike, they have so much going on, right? And unfortunately, the street renewal has always seemed to get shuffled down. But the council and the administration, I think they now understand, after us being in our new positions for 2 years, that we feel that is really a priority. So it's coming back up the chain here, and we will actually be looking at doing a specific street this year, right? Like, we're going to look at the whole infrastructure, right?
Okay.
Like, sewer, water, whatever we have to do, and that's going to be our goal on a go-forward basis.
So just do everything you need to on that one
Yes,
street,
yeah.
and then move
Yeah,
to another
yeah.
one, as opposed to
Yeah.
jobs all over the place. Okay.
Yeah, and that's something that we really want to say, this is something we're going to do every year from now on. And the other thing we need to do, now that we have our recycling machine, that we are going to make sure that on a go-forward basis, we're all offended when we have that pothole there for a month, 30 days, and people say, like, where is the town, right? So I think, we're really addressing that, and I know winter's here again now, and we haven't been as good as we should be, but I firmly believe that in the next 2 years, we're going to solve that problem. I'm very comfortable with that. The only caveat to that, of course, is, we've spent a ton of money on the CM property this year, so we will need to get a developer there to give us back our money. And of course, with the 1-in-1,000-year rain event, we spent unlimited money there too, right? But again, the government has said they're going to pay us that disaster money back, and we need to get that money back into our coffers, because if we don't have that money, then of course we're going to have to start looking at what we can do and what we can't do again.
So back to the reservoir quickly. Where are the reservoirs being built?
It's going to be built right to the west, right beside Park Lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Park Lake, I know that we're all sitting wondering, so what can be done? what is being done? Do you have any sort of general update?
Yeah, actually I do. Actually, we discussed it yesterday at the council meeting. You know, we've always been cautious about this. We didn't want to give a timeline that we were not going to be able to meet. So, you know, we're just underway. But interestingly, the provincial government is actually engaged in this very, very early on in our flood mitigation. They came out and looked at you know, the bridge that goes into the park there, and they looked at Park Lake, and they looked at some other stuff we've done, and we actually now have been given the money to move forward with a study. I don't know if the word given is right, but that, you know, it's not coming from our budget, it's coming from a provincial budget to do the study.
Basically, a grant's being provided.
Yeah, so it's a grant, yeah, to do a study, and we've already engaged an engineering firm last night on our resolution, and they're going to start. They've actually started. They actually were here. I mean, there was multiple engineering groups that looked, and so anyhow, they're moving forward, and they have told us at the table last night they believe they will give us a completed report by February.
Well, that's pretty quick.
No, that's really quick.
And so any further discussion, or is that still yet to be decided about what it will be? I mean, there's some talk, some people say, let's have a recreation lake. Well, it's not really that big. Some people say, let's go back to having a conservation where it was, where you saw wildlife and waterfowl and that.
You know, and I think that's going to be part of what they give us in there. But what he made a good comment last night was that whatever position they end up in, and you know, we have input into it too, right? We can talk about what we want. You're right. It's not a lake that moves, right? The water doesn't flow through there in the summertime. So if you're looking at it to be you know, for fishing, and that's not going to happen. But what the comment he did make was that depending, first of all, those walls on that lake are 130 years old. So, yeah. And he said, you know what, probably they will do the study, they will look at it, but they believe that they probably will have to either, they're even talking about maybe expanding that lake a little bit, taking it back to more of a natural, because, you know, it actually at one area, and what time, you know, that area floods around it anyhow, they can make it a little bit bigger. They definitely think if they keep the existing berms, they're probably going to have to reinforce them. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts yet. But at the end of the day, they said the one positive thing about this is most times when you're doing projects like this, you're trying to somehow make it less, not you know, you're trying to take away something. Whereas in this particular case, we're actually going to make it better. Because, you know, as you say, if it's going to be a conservation area, it's a great time for us to be able to make it bigger and better. And governments love that, right? So the government's going to go, yeah, the environment's going to show up and go, well, yeah, there's nothing bad going on here, right? You guys are doing a great thing here. You're making this even better. So they feel very comfortable that we will be in a very positive position with a proposal. But again, I mean, governments only have so much money.
Well, at least the first step is sort of being achieved, and that you have funds to be able to go forward and actually do a study.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the fact that they've been proactive, and like I said, this occurred on July the 1st, but I mean, we already are, you know, we're already part way into the study, and the fact that they're going to be able to get it to us by, they believe, the end of February. I mean, that's
pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that is
they must have all done some preliminary stuff.
Yeah, they've been out here. Yeah, they've been out here 2 or 3 times already, and yeah, no, so that's very positive. Yeah, and in terms of they might, and because that lake is going to, if it does go ahead and does get rebuilt, then that they will have to also consider that bridge then.
Yeah.
You know, so then that'll be part of the discussion too. So.
Now I know you mentioned that, you know, part of the dynamics in terms of flow of money, you're waiting for settlement with regards to flood compensation.
Yep.
So. What are you looking at needing for the flood compensation? Because
well, you know,
my understanding is that if you're an individual homeowner, it doesn't come under the cities.
No.
You have to apply as a separate injured party, so to speak.
And the government has, you know, they have now labeled it a disaster, right? So now you can apply. You know what? We still have bills coming in. I don't think I guess I would say I don't think the town bills are going to exceed $1 million. You know, we built the berms and we did work in, you know, the Riverbend Park and we had some other, well, of course, the bridge, but that's going to be under a different. So you're right. But we're very comfortable now that we're going to get that money back.
wow.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, and I think the homeowner should be comfortable too. They will get something. It's a little more confusing, right? Because if I understand this correctly, and I think I do, house insurance kicks in first. So if you had a sewer backup, like in my house, I had $10,000 worth of sewer backup, and I didn't get that much damage because I was at the end of the street, so I'm going to be okay. So I won't be applying for any of that. But you get down to Councillor Pudlow's end of the street there, and
that lower end.
yeah,
right
I
down
mean,
there.
and they're basically rebuilding their basements.
Yeah.
So they also had some insurance, but it won't cover. So then that's when the disaster kicks in, and then
After that, okay.
So I know I'm pretty comfortable. I get the feeling that, yeah, I mean,
So those berms that were put up during
Yes.
that, are they permanent now?
they are. Yeah,
And will they-
Denis built them on the idea that because we were under the state of emergency,
Yeah.
we were allowed to build them. They had to be labeled temporary at that time, but he did build them at permanent. He built them high enough so that when they settle, which they are starting to settle now, they are still, I want to say, 2 feet above what we had on July the 1st, so I don't think we're ever going to get that high. But so, and now we're being told that we can consider them as permanent.
Wow.
So that, it was a good move on the town's part. I really believe that.
Well, you need to protect, you get a water treatment plant right there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's exactly right.
Which leads me to a question, Mark, regarding that whole July 1st to sort of beat all July 1st, I think here.
Yep.
Lots of things happen. The RCMP's involvement, like where were what was your involvement, engagement in that process? How did you feel it went?
I think it went very, very well. We were just kind of blocking off some streets and stuff and making sure people were okay, and keeping people away from certain areas in case it undermined and the water, took them downstream or anything like that. And the town really respected everybody. Where roads were blocked off and that, they were staying back. But of course, you always get the onlookers that wants to come and look. And when you tell them, you can't go in here and here's why. And once you explained it to them, they were fine with that. But we had, not just here, we had it in Minnedosa and Rapid City and Gladstone. So we had to go all those
Minnedosa
places.
was probably much more affected or impacted.
Their downtown area,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, but we had the whole area that we had to cover. So but overall, it went very, very well. Kudos to Colleen and staff because they were out there countless hours and long hours.
It was quite a community event.
Yeah,
and by event I mean a positive response.
Well, and how the community gelled together is what I wasn't surprised, but it was really nice to see how they got together and everybody pitched in and helped out, and it made our job a lot easier that way.
Well, it made me think of a question in terms of your members currently are a mixture of senior people who've been around a while and new recruiting sort of coming out and having some real experience. They bring a whole different range of skill sets.
Yes.
How do you find that balance?
It was really good. We try to keep some senior and junior guys together. Some of the junior guys had some good ideas, and of course, senior guys too.
Yeah.
So we ran with what we had, and everything panned out very, very well. So it was good all the way around, and we even changed our shifts to make sure because we had some people going into some houses in Minnedosa,
Right.
not such here, but that people had to be evacuated. So people were going in and taking some stuff, so we had to make sure these houses weren't going to be looted and things like that. And we wanted to make it sure in every area that we had, so that's why we did what we did. So it was policing around the clock. It was, guys were on until 5, other guys came on at 5, and it just kept going. And we did that for a couple of weeks. And knock on wood, everything panned out and worked out for everybody.
Good.
So that would be that would be a good news story, right? Because we had discussed this before, right? Like lots of times, police officers have seen the people that are stopping you on the side of the road and giving you a speeding ticket or telling you about a stop sign. But this is a case now where you guys are going out there and you're actually, you're saying, here, I'm here to help you. I'm here to. I mean, that's got to be.
Yeah.
That's got to be a good feeling, right? That you guys.
It is, yeah. And you get some good feedback, and not all the time we get good feedback. We get the negative stuff,
Yeah.
but when you have some good feedback, it makes everybody feel really good. And they want to put more effort into what they're doing, right? So
Well, we all like to feel at least
Yeah.
recognized or valued for what we do.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be huge, but just the fact that, you
just
know
little
what,
things.
thank you, or something like that.
One story I had is one little girl was waiting for her dad at school the other day. Well, it's about a month ago now, and I was out there for the school patrol and watching and that, and so I said, "Well, do you want me to take you over to where your dad is working?" She said, "Sure." So I took her over to where dad was working, and the first thing she said, "Well, he must be really busy because his truck's there and he's not out by his truck." So I said, "Okay, I'll take you back to the school," and took her back, and her aunt lives by the school, and I said, "Well, do you need a ride home?" And she said, "Sure."
Yeah.
You know, her eyes just
Take it
opened
in the
up.
police car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's only in grade 2 or 3 or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So I said, "Okay, we'll do a patrol on the way home to take you home." She thought that was good, and she was quite a talker. And I said, "Well, would you like do you like ice cream?" She said, "Yeah." So I stopped at McDonald's and got her an ice cream on the way, and her eyes just lit up. And we got home, and her mom took a picture of myself and her, and got it out to some of their friends. And of course, then I got calls from them, and it made me feel good.
Yeah.
And I guess she's still talking about it today. So
Well, it puts the community in community
yeah,
policing, right?
yeah, and that's the whole thing about it. And I know our members. One incident with one of our members, somebody left the hospital and he stopped and talked to them, and they were having some hard times, and their nursing staff was having a hard time with him and family to get him to stay, and he talked to him, got him back in, and the gentleman really appreciated it, and you know, you don't hear a lot of good things, but
Good
that's a good
things.
thing,
Yeah.
and the family was very happy
And
about
I
that.
heard a little bit of that story, Mark, and yeah, the family had so much respect for that
Yeah.
officer to do what he did, because
Yeah.
this guy was a little grumpy and a little unhappy, and the
Yeah.
officer was so good with him.
And one that we did have with defrauding the police, we had one of our members stopped a car on the highway, and as soon as the member went up, the guy was, don't shoot me, you know, going on and on and on, and the member said, if you just calm down, he said, if you can look at the picture, he said that you're white and I'm brown. He said, and the guy in the car said, "Oh, well, I guess it doesn't pertain to this incident then, does it?" Like, you know. But it is getting harder for us
no.
now out there with when you stop a vehicle with the COVID alone,
Yeah.
and with the defrauding the police that's going on in the States and
I know.
some places in Canada.
And you know what? That leads me to a question I wanted to ask. We hear a lot. There's a lot in the news about defunding, and Blake and I have talked earlier. I'm not quite sure defunding really is what is needed as opposed to realigned or redeployed or something. But the concept about community policing, clearly, there's no question. There's a lot more situations that the police will encounter where people are having really serious mental health
Yes.
episodes or challenges.
yeah,
There's been a lot of sort of talk about, well, we need to put them more into social work or mental health positions, and frankly, I think we should be doing that anyway. But I'm wondering, has any thought been given to a type of policing approach where there is already a either social worker or a mental health worker assigned to a police unit that would be able to go out on those calls if it's a call with that kind of situation?
we haven't seen anything yet in ours, but that being said, I know we get lots of feedback from our CO and places, if even our members,
Yeah.
because at times we need it as well to have counseling and
Yes.
stuff too, and so we're getting lots more has come out in the last probably 6 months than I've seen it in my career,
Wow.
and which is good, and it looking after the members, because if we can't look after ourselves and get help that we need, then we're no good out there on the roads.
Well, it just seems to me that, one thing, your training is very different than a social worker's training, although you take in terms of how to deal with people and do that kind of thing, but your role is very specific. But we're dealing with a lot more people who are in such crisis that it's really hard to define where, you know, and having that kind of support with the police.
Yeah, and even right now, when a lot of the social workers go to a call, something like that, they will call us and we'll go with them. Whether they don't feel safe or not, but just in case, and it's too late if they get there and then have to call us and we're who knows where we are.
Yes, yeah,
get there,
you've got a
right?
large area
So-
to cover.
So we try to go with them and help out as much as we can, and take it from that.
Do you have any idea what percentage of your calls would be based on mental health issues?
I don't, but there is quite a few.
There is
Yeah, there is quite a few, and especially now too. If once they're seen by the doctor here, they're trying to streamline it more. And if they have to go into CAP for a couple of days or whatever, we have to take them to the hospital now in Brandon, and Brandon has to look at them and reassess them again before they can go in. Which we're trying to cut the timeline out because it takes so long to do that, and that ties up members. You know.
Well, yes,
And
there are
it's-
other
it's
things happening.
Nothing
yeah.
for a mental health call for us to be tied up 6 hours. Like a member to be tied up for 6 hours. And sometimes it takes 2 members, depending on how the situation is.
And could that, and I'm just asking, is that something that could be solved if you had some type of auxiliary police, or that's something that could never occur?
I think what they need to do is when we take them to the hospitals or to wherever we have to take them, to turn them over, have somebody there who's trained. who can
Then
take them.
you can go on
So
to do
we
other.
can go on and do our
Somebody who's
policing.
trained to say, okay,
Yeah.
we're here and we can keep
Yeah.
control of this situation.
We have control of the situation. We can get back to do what we have to do. And just like with any remands now, we used to be able to take them to Brandon. We have to take them to Winnipeg. They can't go to Brandon.
And is that because of COVID?
No, I think that's a new policy that they've come out. Part of it is COVID. I shouldn't say that.
Okay.
Part of it is COVID, but it's a new policy they come out with.
Oh, wow.
And I know that's Brandon City, even with IPDA's impaired people on the streets that they pick up. They used to be able to take down to Brandon. They can't do that anymore. So
They
they're
actually have to take them to Winnipeg.
Winnipeg.
From
Anything. Yeah, a lot of what Brandon and them are doing, they're trying to use our cells in different areas like Verdun.
Okay.
They maybe start using them up in Minnedosa or Killarney, but they still have to go to those areas to do that. So it's it's a big all the way around for policing, not just us, but
Well, and I think it's changed. It's a long way from the cop on the beat, right?
yeah. And what they have just came out with it was announced last week where you can do some reporting online, and as of November, I think it's the 2nd, they're going to go province-wide. So with break-and enters, theft of bicycle, theft under $5,000, of course, lost and found items, you can go
You can
online.
actually put it online, and somebody will be screening that. And
Yeah, they'll
send it
screen
to
that.
the
What they'll do, they'll give you a
appropriate
file number right away. So
Okay.
if you have to make a claim through your insurance company or anything like that, you can do that. So we're hoping that cuts down some of the alleviation for our guys. We will get the file still for follow-up investigation, but it will be already linked and everything else. So the members won't have to be in there and link everything up on the computer, and they can get the stuff and go right from there.
How are you currently, if I had a concern, I wanted to talk to a police officer, am I able to see one face-to-face, or is it?
Yeah, we are still doing face-to-face. Our office is still closed, but you can still see one face-to-face.
So you call and make an appointment?
Call and make an appointment.
And that arrangement
Yeah,
can be
an
made.
arrangement
Okay.
will be made.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. The other thing, thank you for that, because I had a question about that. Given the times and given you're hearing so much about police and the deaths that are occurring, it's news. We don't hear the good stuff on the other side.
Yeah, and one
either.
of the other good stories was one of our members was out. It was in the summertime. He was out doing back road driving the dirt roads, and a farmer was sitting down having his lunch in the field. So the member was up and sits down on the tailgate with him and has a sandwich with him. And the farmer thought, "This is great. You know, you don't see a lot of that anymore," and which helps us out. It's we're human too, right?
Of course
Well,
you are.
and that's the
So-
thing we tend to forget in people in authorities, whether it's police or doctors or people working with the town. It doesn't really matter. We're all, in the final analysis, we're all human beings. We all respond to those same kind of things. So acting towards each other like human beings is good.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm going to act towards you like a human being and say, given the status with our flood, the flats, clearly it's put some things on hold, but what are you thinking
Yeah,
about?
well, you know what, again, I'll go back to the very beginning when we first got elected. I mean, yeah, that was a big part of our talk at that time, was the flats, the tennis courts and the basketball courts and whatever else we might do down there. And you're right, now because of the pandemic and because of some other things that have been going on, I think we are pretty committed over the last 2 years to getting our tennis courts in. So I think that's pretty well, again, you can write that down if you want, but that's what.
Okay.
But that's what we're very hopeful on. And I was just gonna say, Don, you know, when we're talking with the RCMP, we've actually got 3 things coming up. I was thinking that we will be connected to them with, right? So we've got the November 11th coming. That was just discussed today. So they're not going to do I don't think this is totally public knowledge yet, but I mean, it makes sense. They're not going to do the Yellowhead this year because of COVID. They're going to go back to more of the old way of doing things, where they march from the Legion, and then they're going to have a little something afterwards. And then, of course, we've got Halloween coming, and I'm not sure where you guys fit into that. And then the Santa Claus parade's coming, right? And we had that discussion last night at the council table.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
Right,
Yeah.
and you know what, the reason it came up, well, 2 reasons. The Chamber's looking for direction, but also yesterday Brandon announced they're not having a Santa Claus parade.
Right.
So, you know, we were a little surprised by that because, you know, it's outside, it's cold, you're moving. So, you know, our original discussion at the table last night was that if we don't go back to a code orange or anything like that, I mean, we are certainly not going to stand in the way of it. We're going to say, you know, we'd really like you to do everything to social distance and to be safe and secure, but I just think we have to keep a certain sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
I do, yeah. Yeah, we're going to have our patrols out on Halloween night, as we normally do, and again, the parades, we did it this year for the grad. I don't know if you saw some of that, but Eve coerced me into wearing this helmet, and you know, and we get on our scooters and.
Yes.
Away you go.
No, I think some of us do have videos of that, Mark.
Yeah. Imagine they'll pop up sometime. But it was great. The kids thought it was great, and we drove around and said hi to the kids, and they just thought it was fantastic. And they got to know, I got to know them better, and they got to know me better. Like, you know, you can joke a bit with them and stuff like that, and you know, they are human.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and what happens when they're very young flavors how they view things as you get older.
Yeah,
It's very important to have that human connection at all levels, just across the board. And the Santa Claus parade. So when you're looking at it, and with COVID, are you changing anything? Changing a route? Are you?
No, I don't think so. I think, you know, that was part of the discussion, shorter, longer, and I think at last I heard was it'll stay at the same length it was.
Because there's lots of space around there for people to. And most people are going to be in their own cars to begin with.
Yeah, it'll depend on the weather. It always does, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's. I assume, I could be wrong. I assume there's not going to be any candy thrown and stuff like that this year, right? That won't occur. And going back to Halloween for a little minute, I think I've talked to a lot of people who are turning their lights off this year, right?
Yeah, we've got that. We've heard the same thing. A lot aren't going to have their lights on, and just for the fact of safety for themselves.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if they pass something out and somebody got something,
I know.
You know, they hate it that way. So
people are being quite ingenious. You know, the end of a hockey stick.
Yeah.
And
I saw a pipe on a rail.
Oh yeah.
And just threw the stuff through the pipe.
So I mean, good for them. But I hear you. I've heard a lot of people say, you know what, sorry, this year.
Yeah.
It's not. And I know that from our organization, we would do a pre-Halloween with the parents and the kids for the little ones, and we'd have up to 100 people.
I know.
Yeah.
So that's not happening.
Yeah.
You just can't do that.
Like I was talking to Councillor Pudlow last night, and of course he's a teacher and he loves this, right? So he's still committed to it, and he said he's going to have these big bowls and he's going to not have them touched for 3 days, so there won't be any, so you know, you'll be able to, and then he's going to use tongs, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's going to be careful, and he's going to face mask and everything, but this is, you know, and I mean, I think there are people like that still really want to.
And good for them.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Your comment about trying to keep some sense of normalcy. If we throw everything out the window, it just increases anxiety, increases unpredictability, your sense of unpredictability, and it increases our mental stress.
Yep.
If we can at least do, okay, we'll adapt, but we're still doing it. It's like, So are you canceling Christmas next?
Yeah, exactly.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah, I know.
Really, we just have to look at how
I
we
hope
adapt.
not, because I want Santa to bring
Well,
me
me
stuff.
too. I mean, I heard that and just about hit the roof. You're quite right. But just looking at it in a different way. Those large pre-Christmas parties or get-togethers or gatherings probably are not
No.
a smart thing to do.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think just in that general vein, right? I mean, it's going to be a difficult winter, right? I mean, I don't think people really understand that, we're still well, maybe they do understand that, we got a long ways to go here yet, right? Before
Well, regardless of when we get a vaccine, and that's going to take time.
Yep.
I think school going back in, I think has been
Yeah, it's worked well so
a very
far.
positive thing for everybody. I think that having Halloween in whatever format works. It won't be the same, but at least it will be there.
Yep.
And we'll just have to weather through this. The talk about the potential for these super viruses popping up. Don't just think it's COVID-19 and that's it. We need to be prepared for how we go forward.
Yeah.
And now we're now pushing the flu vaccine.
Right.
Get your flu vaccine.
And I even know going to the hockey games at the Yellowhead, everybody's wearing their mask. They have their mask on there.
Yeah.
And at the first area, I thought, oh, this is going to be hard, and the police going to enforce this. Yeah, we are there. Our members do come in and walk there. I'm there to games to watch games as a civilian anyway, but something comes up, I can deal with it. But people are really pretty good in following the rules, because they know they don't want to lose that.
Well, and
It's an
what's
outing
happened.
too.
Exactly. Look what's happened when people haven't followed.
Yeah.
Look at the state Winnipeg's struggling with.
I know.
It's an inconvenience. But if it's for a short term, a few months or whatever, and it helps control this, then we're all better
And I
off.
mean, we were a prime example of Prairie Mountain. When we were in our code red, and as soon as everybody started wearing their mask and abiding by what's going on, our cases went down.
Yes.
And so Winnipeg could do the same thing. I mean, but they got to want to do it.
And they're dealing with much larger numbers and
Yeah.
it's spread out and it's hard to jurisdiction.
And the big thing they were saying too right now is the biggest cases are between 20 and 29.
I
Correct.
know.
Yes.
So,
That's a very young population.
and we had a person that died that was 40 with no underlying
I know.
conditions. So
Yeah.
it can happen to
It can happen.
not just the old. It can happen to the young.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's I think my impression is it's the speed of which this thing, how contagious it is.
Yeah.
Just once it gets in, it's cool.
I know. No, I think I was just talking to someone today, and he said, "I don't fear it, I respect it."
Yeah.
And
That's
I thought
that's
that was such a
fairly
good way of
good
phrasing
attitude.
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to respect it, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing what we cover in council checkup.
Yeah.
I mean, we're checking up with the council, and that seems to be, but we're also just checking out with the community
Yeah.
at large, which I think is not a bad idea. And so we're kind of gearing up towards the end of the program. Is there anything either of you would like to add to the conversation?
No, myself, I think just people keep doing what they're doing, especially with COVID. I know that we are expecting a few more break-and-enters because of the fact of COVID.
So lock your doors.
Yeah, lock
put
your
stuff
doors,
away.
put your stuff away, take your numbers down on or put numbers on them,
Yeah.
your tools, anything that's really
Yeah.
valuable for you. Do that, please, and it should be okay. We're going to get through this.
Yeah, that's
Good.
exactly right. Yeah, and I guess the only thing I would say is, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Mark. I mean, we're just in that time of the year right now where we just have to kind of chug along here. And I guess from a council point of view, hard to believe this meeting last night was the end of 2 years of our...
Halfway through
yeah,
your
we're
term.
halfway through our term. The next meeting will be the beginning of our 3rd year. So whether people go, whoa, 2 more years left, or 2 more years left, I don't know what.
Well, I mean, it's been a very interesting 2 years.
Yeah.
Lots has happened in the
Yeah.
last 2 years, and certainly going forward, looks like lot is going to happen.
There's a lot.
So-
You know, we are an unbelievably growing town, and it's pretty amazing what's going to not just happen over the next 2 years, but over the next 5 years here. I mean, this
Yeah.
is, I mean, you know, like I said, we're a town that, I said it last night at the council, you know, in 2011 we were 3,600, and I firmly believe 10 years from now we'll be doubled, right? We'll be 7,000. I mean, we're just, yeah, we're getting to be a big center.
It's without question, lots of stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And it's wanting to grow.
Yep. And being ready
and being
to
ready
be able
for
to handle
growth.
it. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for coming, and good to see you again.
You too, Don?
And I know you're going to enjoy your return to your other position, because that's just right up your alley. And congratulations to you and the council for 2 years.
Yes, thank you.
Halfway through, well done. That's good. And people seem pretty unscathed, so that's not.
Yeah, we haven't had to call the RCMP yet. So.
But anyway, thank you both. And from me, Don Walmsley, thank you for tuning in. Remember, if you have any questions or anything you'd like us to raise here, let us know at the front office. Just call NACTV and speak to Leeway at the front there, and she'll take it down, and I'll make sure we bring it up. Well, we won't bring it up. I will bring the topic up, and we'll discuss it here. So once again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Enjoy the snow. With any luck, it'll be gone within a week. We'll just keep our fingers crossed. Bye for now.